All right, and we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. I'm Tony Vicinda, the Chief Alchemist at Plus One. We're a weird little brand that multi-classed in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our whole real hope is to help independent game creators showcase their games, help other people find them, discover them, and support them. Tonight, we are going to be playing Chronicles of the Spacejammer, which I am very excited, but I'm going to let the creator tell you all about it in just 1 second. And then we'll talk a little bit more about why I'm excited when we're done playing tonight. You can find everything we do at Plus One EXP across social media. And if you're watching live with us right now, let us know, what you're most excited about tonight. Yes, I did use a number of Space Jam hashtags when sharing this. This is not about playing basketball with cartoon characters to save the world. It's a space fantasy. Maybe it is. I don't know. I guess I'm not the GM. We'll find out. But we're going to share that out. If you want to help other people discover this channel, give us a tweet. Toss it out there. Go ahead and let other people know that we are live right now. But I want you to go ahead and meet some of the other players that we have with us. Joining us for the first time on stream is, I got all the Anons on there. Jahan. Did I do it? Jahan.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Jahan. Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good.
I'm Jahan.
Tell people who you are, where they can find you on the internet, and what you do.
So I'm at RockFact on Twitter. Our YouTube is Fresh Out the Box. We do a lot of tabletop streams, tabletop read-alongs. Currently, we're playing a Warhammer fantasy role-playing campaign. We just got done doing a cyberpunk one-shot with Mr. Hutt from R. Talsorian Games. That was a lot of fun. And I'm Jahan on Twitch as well. So
there we go.
Twitch.tv/Jahan.
There we go. All right. Well, I'm super excited to have you with us tonight, and we're going to find out about both of our characters as well as Cal's character. Just a little bit. Cal, tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you on the internet.
Hey, my name is Cao Shea. I'm from Seattle. I'm an erstwhile librarian and general RPG enthusiast out here. You can find me around the internet at Cao Shea. That's COW. There's not that many people named Cow out there, so you'll probably find me.
It's true. You are the only person named Cal that I know, and I'm super excited that you're going to live out a childhood fantasy tonight with the character that you're playing in so many ways. With that said, the last but not least, the creator of Chronicles of the Spacejammer is Richard. And I meant to ask you to make sure how I was going to pronounce your last name because it's got enough vowels to be Elvish. I'm going to go ahead and guess I'm going to say, I can't even figure. I had one in my mind a second ago. Ruane.
Ruane is absolutely correct. It's 100% right.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Yeah, nailed it. I took 5 minutes to aim and hit it in one.
That's a last name that passed through Ellis Island, and before it passed through Ellis Island, it had a lot of silent consonants in it.
There we go.
So it was even more confusing. Yeah, I am Richard Ruane. You can find me at Aru on Twitter. I'm gonna put that into the chat.
Oh, I got you there. I'm on it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, you're on it too. There we go.
There, yeah. I the creator of Chronicles of the Spacejammer, and this is my second Kickstarter funded game. Previously, I funded Barra Keep, and I've also written Dark Designs and Verdigris, which was published by the Gauntlet and Codex RPG in a Codex RPG zine. So
yeah. I'm a Gauntleteer. I'm a big fan of both the work you've done through Codex, but I'm also a Borrow Keep backer. That was actually, we're in the middle of Zine Quest right now. We're doing a lot of Zine Quest coverage. I do want to know that was one of the in my opinion, one of the more successful, very exciting games of Zine Quest 2. You can either agree with me or not, but I said it. And so tell people a little bit about that campaign and kind of what you think got people excited about that, or how you built that, because we've got a lot of people watching right now who are small creators also.
The excitement for that just kind of blew me away. Like I had Thea Rivera had said a few years ago that we should look at ways to like run sort of older school systems to kind of emulate Game of Thrones style play. And certainly like at higher levels, older school systems have sort of domain play. But in talking to Theodore, we were both like, that's not exactly what we're getting at. We're not just like, oh, taxes are up and the peasants are happy. That's not what we're getting at. We were trying to get first, a little bit of that, but also sort of the drama that kind of milks out of that. And also we wanted to emerges from that and we also wanted to see, we really wanted to see sort of that happen at the first level, not at like waiting until 8th level before you did anything. So we really started looking at ways to play games from kind of a starting point where you were a person in a political situation. You were a first level person, not a lot of experience, not a lot to go on, but you had sort of been thrust in this political position because of your job or your birth or who was employing you. And we ended up with something a little based on Beyond the Wall was a great starting point for that, and then came back around to something that was designed for use with BX, just basic old school games, and supported several different systems there. And I think what we ended up with is applicable to a lot of different systems, but really it's about young adults growing up in the title keep, Barrow Keep, and trying to survive, solve mysteries, and deal with the fact that most of the adults around them are a little bit corrupt and not necessarily making the best decisions. It's a lot like being, I assume.
But I asked you about your game. So, which then
it's
feels
been a long
also.
time since I've been 21, so but I assume that's still what being 21 is like.
Yeah,
so.
it also then feels like not a very wide swing to Traveller at that point also too. And so you've got Chronicles of the Spacejammer is a space fantasy game. It is made with the Traveller SRD, which not a lot of people have played around with. I was really excited to see you had picked it up.
Oh.
But you also built it with support for Troika, which is one of my, we're going to see a ton of Troika products, I know, over the course of the next couple of years, but also this Zine Quest especially. So tell us a little bit about that process. Sorry, we'll talk about that design process at the end. Tell us a little bit about kind of the Traveller environment that you've created in Chronicles of the Spacejammer before we dive in.
Well, I mean, like one of the great things about Traveller is that it is probably it's a 40-year-old system, and certainly things about it sort of look 40 years old, sort of, layout decisions and editing decisions, and the fact that it just kind of makes some decisions that feel very 40 years old. But when you really get down to the system, it feels like it was done 4 years ago. It is a really simple 2d6 system. It's always against a static value. You'll see that you're always rolling for a target number of 8. You'll get some modifiers from your skills. You'll get some positive or negative modifiers from me. And then you'll roll 2d6 and try to get an 8. And it really opens itself up to all kinds of modes of play. You can play where GMs roll. You can play where GMs don't roll. You can sort of play around with failure states and risk. It's just such a simple, straightforward thing. It feels that I think that a lot of people who've sort of cut their teeth on things like Troika or PBTA or other 2d6 systems that are more contemporary will feel very at home.
Cool.
And that's one of really what drew me in to kind of starting with Traveller. And then there's also this notion that you start out, there's this kind of character creation mini game right up front. It's not a long mini game. It's really over in 20 or 30 minutes. But you start out as an 18-year-old at character creation, and your life takes directions that there's an off chance it may go exactly as you planned. But there's a lot of chances that it's going to go in some sort of surprising directions, and you can end up being a fresh young. I think we got one character tonight who's a fresh young 22-year-old who's been sort of bopping around the spheres for. Since turning 18, and we've got a character who I think is pushing 40, and has certainly seen a little bit more action. So it's certainly like sort of that that's kind of what drew me into Traveller, and already there's already space fantasies that's kind of started with the AD&D, and certainly the AD&D sort of frame and I was really interested to see what would space fantasy would look like if we start with the science fiction direction and move into more fantasy.
Yeah, I love it.
Right.
I'm excited. I think one of the biggest things that turns people off to Traveller, in a lot of ways, is one of the things that's best about it. The world coding you can do, the different way that you can build out, even in the original Traveller, the way your exact universe works, which you can give a long string of numbers to tell people what is exactly, opens it up to exactly the type of play you've created. So I'm excited to go ahead and dive in, to play around for a little bit, and we can talk some more about the actual design and our experience at the end. But I'm just going to hand it over to you. I'm sorry, I forgot. We always use lines, veils, and X card on the channel. And we have a strong line on the channel against sexual violence, but we leave a discussion about the rest of everything that we want on there up to the players. So lines are things that may happen in the universe but don't happen in the course of our game. They may happen off screen somewhere, but we don't focus on them. Veils are things that may happen in the course of our game, but we don't dwell on them. We fade to black. We move forward as we mention them. We don't sit with them for an extended period of time. And then the X card is the thing that any player can say anytime they feel uncomfortable, think that something's going to distract them, to let all of us know, hey, we need to stop, back up, address an issue, and then move forward in a different direction, which anyone, even the GM, can execute. And so with that said, other than the line we've already established, I want to just opt it out to anybody else. What are lines or veils that y'all want to toss out?
I mean, I like the no sexual violence. That's a pretty big one. I mean, the typical, let's not get racist, no that kind of thing.
No racism, no transphobia, no homophobia.
Yeah, no transphobia, no homophobia.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the one I was going to ask for as well. There's not any themes in this particular game that sort of, really need to. There's certainly games that those are the heavy topics come in, but I don't think in this particular session needs to come in.
Cool. Anything anybody else?
I think I feel like I have a veil of like hopelessness or grim stuff. It's all good if that's in the game and that's what's going on. But yeah, let's draw a veil. I feel like I could use a fun time in outer space tonight.
Nice. Okay.
I actually really love the concept of a veil against hopelessness. Like, there can be hopeless moments, but we don't want to stay there. That's awesome. All right. Well, with that said, I'm going to hand it over to you, Richard, just to kind of take us into Spacejammer.
Nice. I feel like I need like a big, heavily orchestrated number right now, but we don't have one, and I can't afford that. So, small creators, small budgets. And I don't even have a trumpet. I can't even.
I gotta get better at the sound cues on our end. I bopped some of Phil Reed's like new Morkborg soundtrack, Dungeons and Thousands.
Oh, nice.
Earlier for his project right now, but I don't have anything else queued up. So
nice. So tonight's adventure is about a derelict ship. Which I feel like is one of those great classic Spelljammer, space fantasy, science fantasy, even in Traveller. That's one of the basic intro adventures is exploring a derelict ship. So that's what we're going to get into tonight. But first, let's start with you're all hanging out as people who know each other in the Two Bears in the city of Enoch, which is a giant comet city that orbits the 100 spheres of the known galaxy. And the Two Bears is a great safe place. It's one of those places that the owners put up with nothing and are tough enough to deal with anyone. And so it's a place that people don't start trouble or mess around. And it's a good place to hang out while you're waiting to find work. So what I'd like to do is find out, who do we see and where do they kind of come from? What's and I feel like we're going to start with Jahan. Did I say that correctly? Jahan.
Jahan, yeah.
Jahan, sorry.
No, excellent. It's excellent. Yeah, so I am the young 22-year-old in this scenario. I just got back to Enoch after gallivanting about the spheres. I come from a low social status. So I decided to hike out on my own to try and, find out where I could be more than I was born to be. And now that I feel like I have more confidence, I've made my way in the world for a number of years. I have returned, maybe a little cocksure, fairly well groomed for someone of lower status. Sort of tall, not too tall, like 5'8". That's tall to me.
Yeah.
I'm 5'4". But yeah, 5'8", kind of on the skinnier side, with just a quickness about him, very smooth and graceful movements,
Nice.
and a bow slung over my shoulders.
Nice. You know, gunpowder's been invented in the world of Spacejammer, but you know, just like on Earth, repeating guns not terribly reliable. Repeating bows, those work really well. As long as you can steel shoot, you know, you're still able to toss those off. No reloading. What are you especially good at, or what did you kind of learn while those 4 years of travel?
I learned how to watch. I learned how to go unnoticed, and I learned how to, you know, maybe bend the truth so as not to cause problems.
Nice.
And I'm an absolute crack shot. So
right, yeah. All right. And on my screen, I think Tony is the next person up.
Sure. Yeah.
And Durgan was the first one, correct?
Durgan, yes. Durgan.
All right.
Let me check my notes here.
Yeah.
McErman. Yeah.
Nice.
Durgan.
Tony.
So we see. Just so you guys know, we stumbled into a really dumb naming nomenclature that won't be a distraction most of the time, but I'm about to say the whole thing, and I feel so bad about it. So my character's name is Karmic McCar, and so we see Karmic over sitting in a corner booth with a couple drinks in front of him. I think he's kind of place holding for the party as people get up and move around. And we actually see a stack of books kind of sitting on the edge of the table with his nose kind of firmly in one of them. Karmic has very few loves in the world that are greater than learning. Not only did he go immediately to the academy, he also graduated with honors from the academy and received a prestigious academic bonus for some further research before going to work in the senator's office. At the time that he had there, he learned a lot about the way the world works. He had focused mainly on science and alchemy, just with a desire to kind of understand the basics underpinnings of the universe when he was in school. But people realized very quickly that he was very good at research and finding obscure and abstract bits of knowledge. So the senator had him working constantly to kind of find essential elements that they could work into their oratory and do a lot of dedicated research for them. A part of that was learning how to bend the truth when necessary, how to present facts in an alternative manner. And a healthy smattering of diplomacy also. He kind of continued to climb that ladder up and was an aide for the senator directly at one point in time, and has made his way very, very well in life. He is certainly on his way to becoming the 1%, but is mostly consumed with a desire for knowledge, and exploring the universe around him is something he's always wanted to do, and is now for the first chance getting the opportunity to. He's an elf, so he doesn't look much older than any of the rest of the people in the group. However, he's about 12 years, I think, the senior to our youngest member. And so that's Karmic McCar.
Karmic. And Durgan, Karmic, and I think we're coming around to Cal's character, Agnes. Cal, would you introduce us to Agnes?
Yeah, I think Agnes is sitting on the end of this booth because I don't think she fits in the booth very easily because she is a gigantic muscle-bound minotaur, and I don't know, within the framework of this game, how reasonable it is for her to be, like, what size she should be. But I I was imagining, she's like a solid 8 feet, or 7, 8 feet, like considerably taller than most other people.
The Minotaur that Minerva added to the cover is definitely taller than anyone else on the cover. So that sounds good to me.
That's 7 to 8. That's 7 to 8 feet before the horns, also too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, she's just in very excellent shape. She does seem to be maybe recovering from an injury. It looks like she still has a cast on her wrist right now, and as I say, she's sitting on the end of the booth, just sort of observing the other two. And I think actually, as she observes, them sitting and talking, she sort of gestures to Durgan. Just straight, she has very good prim and proper posture, and that stems from her background. She was the daughter of a bodyguard to a wealthy family in High Rock, which is like the nicest, most affluent area. Her father was killed protecting this family, and the family tried to do right by him by raising her as their own after his death. And so she has these sort of like conflicting dual interests of being very physically fit, something that she loved to do with her father, but then being raised outside of that context, no longer sort of this rough and tumble physical context, but now just sort of this very polite and diplomatic upbringing in this wealthy family. She was able to go to school on their dime, and did very well there, and then continued on into a pretty successful career working under another senator. And it was sort of at that point that sort of her rough and tumble background actually started to be advantageous again, as she sort of became this a back alley aide to the senator that she worked for most of her career. But after she was sort of injured in the line of duty, taking care of business in a back alley somewhere, she decided that she was done being a number two person to someone else, and she wanted to see how far she could get on her own and make her own way in the world rather than be in someone else's shadow.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you guys think you know each other?
I think that Agnes and I probably ran across each other during Senate days. Like, I would have hit Senate a little bit later because of doing advanced studies, which I think would make our ages match up a little bit. So I think overlapping there kind of initially. We didn't work for the same senator, but I don't think the two that we worked for were probably at odds with each other very often, and ended up maybe kind of both getting exposed to some of the darker sides of power around the same time.
Yeah.
And so, Jahan, do you have a way that you think you flow into the party easily?
It sounds like you guys touched the underbelly a bit, and I think maybe that's what I was escaping. I wanted to make something of myself without resorting to that, so I left. But now that I've come back, my captain of the Spacejammer that I was a part of has sort of reintroduced me to you as someone who would be complimentary to your grouping.
Okay.
Awesome. Like, here are two people who think they want to learn about the world, but maybe they might die if they don't have somebody who knows what it's actually like. I like that.
I'm the world-weary youngster.
That's right.
All right. So we're going to start the action this evening with a little focus on Agnes. Just to let you know, I really would just love it if you guys sort of just kind of narrate to me what you want to do in response to things. I think if there's ever a point where it's in doubt, where they just say, yes, that happens, we'll talk about a role. You can tell me whether, if I call for a skill, you can say like, hey, would this apply? That's fine. And then we'll just kind of keep mechanics pretty simple and to the side, I think. But first, just kind of tell me how you respond to things and things like that. But we're going to start with a little focus on Agnes. Agnes, the commander of the secret police that you crossed is one of the hardest commanders of the secret police to avoid. They are kind of believed to almost have a certain omniscience. And it's not really sure whether it's because their agents are everywhere. You don't know if it's because they have some sort of divination magic or arcane power that sort of lets them sort of get everywhere. But they don't really have a lot that goes on that sort of escapes their notice. And they like to just sort of reveal that when it's convenient for them. Mm-hmm. And they don't like to let debts go. Is certainly their reputation for they like to string out paying off the debts as long as they possibly can. So when a relatively youngish man around Durgan's age sort of enters, and he's wearing the official sort of like kind of cloak that indicates that he is sort of he is not a senator, but he is here on Senate business. Enters. You might expect a job, and several people's sort of, eyes perk up. Usually somebody of that sort of high station in the government would not come in here unless they are looking for people to take care of something discreetly. But instead, looks around and spots you and immediately comes over, pulls up his own chair and sits down with the kind of easygoing, self-assured confidence you would associate with a much older, cocky person. Like, Durgan, how like a 25-year-old is cocky. But this is sort of the easygoing cockiness of a much, much older person. Human, kind of darkish hair, and sits down. Not a lot of affectation, doesn't like flip the chair around or anything like that. And then sort of makes eye contact with the other two of you and then looks straight at you, Agnes. And just says, Commander Oryx would like a favor. Like something that shows that you are still committed to paying off the debts that you owe the commander.
I think Agnes looks him up and down for a second, and then again sort of like straightens up her back, and she says, "Hello, it's good to meet you. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name."
My name is not of any significant importance.
Well, can I offer you a drink unless you're on duty? In which case, that would be very inappropriate, of course.
I think I will, dispatch the business on which Commander Oryx has sent me, and then stand away.
Agnes says to him, well, you see, the thing is, being polite in our line of work is very important. There's an etiquette to these things, and coming in here unannounced is, well, it's just not done. And she stands up and like cracks her giant knuckles and just sort of like towers over him and says, "So, if you would like to deliver a message, I believe that the proper way for you to do it is to introduce yourself and allow us to enter into this conversation on even terms. Otherwise, it seems quite imbalanced." And she like steps even closer and hulks even taller over him.
When she stands up, I subtly unsling my bow.
My character does exactly what I'm doing right now. He's just continuing to leaf through his book,
And,
completely unaware.
So I'm not 100% sure on how the system works. The things that I am good at is that I am strong and that I have a high social status.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay,
in addition to that, I have like my best skills are in melee combat and etiquette, both of which are at a 2.
It's a fun.
That's why they call it the sweet science. And so,
So I'm either trying to intimidate him into, playing, putting all his cards on the table, or, I want to send a message back.
And what is your social status bonus right now?
It is +1.
And what's your strength bonus?
+2.
+2. So I'd like you to roll 2d6.
Okay.
Because you're gonna have to also do this with subtlety as well, because you don't want anybody calling the owners over.
Gotcha.
I
also have a skill in stealth, for what it's worth. If that.
Oh yeah, let's start with the +3 though, just because you're using a combination of sort of social graces and sort of your own physical power, and you've got your friend backing you up. And there's something oddly disturbing about Carmack just sitting there and reading during all of this.
Yeah, it's off-putting.
It's definitely like
it's a power move.
Sort of adds
especially
to
when
the,
this is the book I'm reading. It's
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna roll for it then. All right, I got a 7, so a 10.
10, nice. You see Gren, the one of the two bears, sort of slide over to you. You see his eyes look a little like perplexed, not exactly sure what to do. And then Gren just settles over to you and looks at him and says, like, trust everyone's being polite and having a friendly conversation, and that
my character looks up, just noticing what's going on for the first time.
And Gren's eyes are sort of on him.
On this Senate representative guy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think so.
Agnes just says, "Yes, we're all getting along fine. We were just introducing ourselves. My name is Agnes, but of course you already knew that. And your name was?"
Apis. You can call me Apis.
Agnes, having won this battle, at least, like, got what she wanted out of him, at least initially, just shakes his hand politely and then sits back down.
I think he's on duty. Can we get maybe water and something to eat for the gentleman?
Gren's like, we charge for water. Looking at him, it's like, we charge for water.
Your first
time here, Gren says that with the eye of someone who's been here before. And first-time customers pay everything in advance.
I'm happy to cover his tab, and I will slide whatever I would expect the amount necessary for it to be.
Yeah, Apis is like, water will be fine. Fine.
So, Apis, it's a pleasure to meet you. I don't know if you know either of my companions, but if you had something to say to me, it's fine with me if you say it in front of them. It was something about the commander, I believe.
Commander Oryx would be very interested in having you work a job.
Didn't you already work for the man?
I've done jobs for him in the past. I don't know if I would say I worked for him. I collaborated with him.
One might ask if the entire city is not really working for Commander Oryx.
That might be a weird question to ask in public.
Yes.
I just got back myself, so I've certainly never worked for the man.
I don't
Yeah,
recall
so-
ever taking a job for him either. What is it particularly?
There's an object that one of our ambassadors is very interested in. The recently passing, and he names a sphere that you recently passed. A derelict ship was drawn into the wake. It's resting on the edge of the wake. Or dragged along in the edge of the wake, and we expect it will not be following us long. But there is something aboard there that one of our ambassadors, Lord Asher, would like retrieved, and has been talking to crews about going out there to retrieve it. Commander Oryx would like it retrieved instead by Commander Oryx.
Well, he's free to do so. I wish you all the best. Should
Commander
we
Oryx
watch his
would-
office while he's gone, or?
Commander Oryx would like someone of your esteem and position to handle making sure that it's retrieved by Commander Oryx.
Well, something of such interest to so many people sounds like, it might be worth checking out. Send us the location, and we'll go see what we can find. And if we can find it, we'll get back to you.
Sounds expensive.
Commander Oryx has already hired a small ship, something light. To take care of the travel out. However, the commander would like people who are a little more known and reliable to handle the acquisition once the ship arrives, and also to handle any trouble from anyone Lord Asher sins.
I mean, it seems odd to send a known entity against an opponent, but I mean, I don't understand how many of these things work.
Agnes is been living such a quiet life for the past few years. I don't think after the injury, I don't think that Lord Asher is aware of Agnes's talents, much less the people Lord Asher would send. Lord Asher would, of course, not go himself.
Ah,
That
I
would draw
understand.
attention.
Known as entrusted. I see what you mean. No, that's much more understandable.
Known to Commander Oryx.
Yes, I believe my young friend here mentioned the cost of such an endeavor. I mean, certainly Agnes is welcome to help friends in whatever mean they seem fit, but certainly you can't expect that the two of us are just free to do whatever we want with our time.
Yeah, and you're going to need us too. I'll chime in aggressively.
I trust that Agnes will. Agnes, what is the standard daily rate for your friends? Individually, that is.
Tell him a lot. I whisper audibly.
She looks at Apis for a few minutes or a few seconds, and she says, I believe that you can come up with a number suitable for us. And that number will cover the cost of our trip out. And then we will explore this derelict as we see fit. And once we find it, we will make sure that it comes right back to the person that is willing to pay us our fair share.
The Benevolent Void is the ship that Commander Oryx has hired. Small boat.
Basically her plan, just for the record, is like she wants to like upfront blackmail him, because I think she assumes that if he's coming to her, he's got to be kind of desperate already, and so she's just laying the groundwork for like, yeah, we'll go do this, and if you pay us well, then we'll give it to you. But like straight up right now, I'll sell this to Lord Asher, no problem. So you better pay us well.
But you also already told us there was somebody else who wanted it. So
yeah, they already told us that there's competition out there that will also pay us for doing this job. So, but I think she is upfront about it. You know, she's not. This is not a scheme. She's just like, great, pay us to go out there, and then we'll see what happens. But
I believe for your friends, the rate of 120 marks per day.
For one
Sounds
person?
like a lot.
Oh no, individually each.
I'll spit my drink up and try to pretend like play it cool. But
yes, I know it's not the best wine I've had either, but it'll be fine.
And Agnes says 150 as a base pay sounds great, plus a per diem and expenses. So we'll round that up to 150 per day per person. Plus we'll need to supply the ship. Will be at least well, depending on where this location is. Again, you haven't told us quite yet, but I would say it's going to be at least 15 marks per day that we're gone just for the ship's expenses. So we'll round it up to 200.
The ship's expenses are handled separately.
I'll point at Agnes and say per diem.
He definitely knows what per diem means.
I do think that for your friends, 150 per diem. Agnes, you will of course be doing this because you owe the commander.
Right. We'll handle that in once we find the derelict and once we see what we might be able to discover there. I'm sure that the commander and I can come to an understanding, but yes. I believe that this will be beneficial to all parties.
Given that, I will, of course, the first days per diem per standard to Durgan and Carmack. You notice you've not introduced yourselves, I don't think, to the two of you.
Oh, I did not know.
Yeah. He just says to Durgan and Carmack.
Yeah, the introductions got really tense.
I don't even want to know names anymore. So
Yeah, I'm intimidated by Agnes a little bit. So
I think as soon as is he like putting money on the table for the first installment?
He has a sort of a kind of a sort of a small leather bound envelope. That's about the size of of that newfangled banknote money. That slides across to Durgan and then slides across to Carmack.
I rudely count it in front of him.
I believe you'll find it's all there. If not, then when you talk to the commander's representative on your return, it will be taken care of at that time.
Yes, quite. Well, gentlemen, and Agnes knocks on the table, and I think this is like a running shtick with them, that as soon as like they've been paid, then the three of us bounce and leave Apis with our bar bill. Or at least that's the goal. We immediately stand up to leave and leave him there.
Apis is already reaching for Apis's wallet or his wallet to already pay that out, and looks straight at you, Agnes, and says, "Standard arrangements. You will, of course, not see me again. When you return."
I'll inadvertently mutter, "Thank God."
Yes, quite. Understood.
And that's pretty standard for orcs. You don't see the same people twice, and when you do, you get the genuine feeling that some of them don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think maybe that might be why she was so insistent about the name. It's just an ongoing thing of like, who are any of these people? It's this huge web, and any information is always like a curiosity. I don't think she's necessarily hoping to figure it out, but it's just like, well, who's this week's unnamed person? I don't know. Let's see what we can find out.
You've had everything from like fortune tellers in the market to you actually had like a kid who was running messages stop and tell you that the commander had a message for you, and then recite it to you. All those kind of things. But so this is probably the least ostentatious person who's surprised you with a message from the commander. Durgan and Carmack, have you ever dealt with the secret police before in such an open way?
I think not like this for me. Like have I encountered people I was sure were secret police? Absolutely, but there was never any required knowledge to assure that they were secret police in any of those engagements. And it would have not been good for my employer for me to have inquired about that, and I cared about my employer, so I did not.
What about you, Durgan?
I feel like as a member of the lower echelon of society, I probably saw many a missing union rep and that kind of thing. I have a bad. I don't like. That's why I was kind of giving him shit because Agnes is big, so I felt safe to prod. But as soon as he's like almost out of earshot, I loudly enough hear it say, "Man, that guy was creepy," becoming hardened and hopeless.
Nice.
The company you keep, Agnes, is always so interesting.
I agree, and I'm glad that you are both staying with me.
Yeah, I got your back, Agnes. All 10 feet of it.
So, do we make our way to the void?
You know, if it's in the wake, it will probably be a pretty short journey. It probably will not actually involve. It will probably not involve the kind of arcane work that space jamming entails.
Impulse thrusters are fine.
Yeah, impulse. Yeah. No, impulse. Arcane impulse thrusters are they don't know it'll be you. So that it doesn't take long after introducing yourselves to get aboard, to convince them that you are the people that you say they are. They know that they are going out to the wake. It'll take about a day there, maybe about a day back. To find a derelict ship being dragged along called the Void Hatred. They have never before seen it or don't have any experience with it. You know that Apis said that this is that kind of got dragged along relatively recently, and will probably find its way, either collide with something or bounce out of the wake and end up kind of floating somewhere among the spheres. But right now it's being dragged along enough. And Apis, or the captain can also tell you what you're looking for. The Void Hatred was a pirate ship.
Okay.
Run by a captain named Asher Bale. Now, different from Lord Asher, though the overlapping first names would tell you that they might be related. But pirate captain of Asher by the name of Asher Bale, and what Lord Asher and Commander Oryx are both looking for is the captain's heart. An alchemical marvel known to beat and continue beating long after their hearts might give out. The heart was given to the captain by a demon. Some say that a demon that the captain was descended from. And Lord Asher wants it back, and so apparently does Commander Agnes, or Commander Oryx. You're Agnes.
So
I
maybe
wrote all these
someday.
characters. I know them, but the benevolent void can take you out there. And then it's just a matter of the tricky part of getting aboard a derelict ship, and getting over to it, and then finding where on the ship the captain's dead body might be. That
Probably on the inside.
Yeah, possibly.
Usually, but not always.
Usually on
That's
the
true.
inside. Just a reminder, we are using the Spacejammer uses sort of space fantasy physics that were beautifully articulated in an old TSR project called Spelljammer. Gravity is either on or off, so you don't really have to worry too much about gravity. You do have to worry about which large object you are closest to, because that is the one that you will suddenly start standing on or falling towards. So somebody could be on the open deck of a pirate ship floating in the wake of there could still be sufficient atmosphere, especially if no one's been alive there for a significant time. And once you get there, you'll probably be able to stand on the deck, whether it's top deck or below decks.
Cool.
Any questions so far? Just
two, one general, one specific. What does alchemy actually do?
Alchemy is one of those kind of all-purpose. If it sounds alchemical, it probably is. So
Okay.
it would both help you recognize alchemical things, kind of figure out what they do, but also given time to compound them, put them together, and then pretty much I'm using it as a shorthand for all sorts of magical crafting.
Cool.
So
Cool.
Sweet.
And then, I think the biggest thing would be making sure that we can breathe once we're on it. That would be my primary concern. So if the ship taking us doesn't have those requisite supplies, we would want to.
Right. Now you expected a ship, a former pirate ship, would maintain its own atmosphere.
Okay.
Another part of that that sort of classic space fantasy physics is large objects the size of a ship sort of have their own atmosphere. It might be a little bit corrupt and thin, since it's not been near a planet, but the fact that it's not had, the fact that it's a derelict means that no one's breathing it at
Right.
least. So
okay. And then I think the other big question was, is armor or equipment or weapons a thing that we should be worried about? Announce now. Just
So any weapon you're trained in, you have. You can definitely wear,
excellent.
a nice heavy leather jacket that sort of absorbs a point of damage.
Okay.
So if you're trained in a weapon, you've got that weapon.
What better weapon is there than the mind, which is the only one I'm trained in?
If you're not trained in a weapon, feel free to grab like a pistol and a dagger.
That's about what I was thinking. Yeah.
It will be rough to use them, but it'll be fun.
Right.
Yeah, I think Agnes has no weapons training, but I think she's probably going to bring along something like a crowbar, just presuming there's going to be stuff to pry open and maybe people to whack with it.
And then basically carrying basic salvage equipment. Like I'm not going to worry about whether or not you've got light. You'll have torches and lanterns.
Yeah, I feel like I would definitely have that kind of stuff. Being fresh.
Yeah, and you're coming off from also coming off of a ship that will happily supply you with basic tools.
Can I MacGuffin to be negotiated alchemical substances later?
Let's do.
I have no idea what they are.
Let's do one that you're fairly certain you know what it is. You don't have to know right now, but when you tell it to me, a second one that's still sort of experimental.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, I've just got my bow. I'm not trained in any melee weaponry, but I am quick. So I feel like I probably have like a short sword and some sort of light, armored doublet.
Yeah, and then all of you can have like the basic armor that has 1 point of damage absorption. Sure. That's really all easy stuff. You're people who have quit your jobs and become people of action. So none of you are in monetary debts. Agnes has some favor debts out there.
Yeah.
But monetary debt, not.
Nope. I'm doing
right now.
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I think in character, I think Agnes would want to ask Durgan and oh dang it, what's your character's name?
Carmack.
Carmack, there we go. Carmack. I think she would want to like check in with you guys. I don't think she's necessarily experienced with this. She sort of like moved in more social circles, but this type of work is not something she's familiar with. So I think, you know, in character, she wants to know if you guys have ever done anything like this before or have any experience with scavenging or you know, working in outer space like this.
Oh, I've spent hours of time reading about all the theories behind it. Don't worry at all.
Yeah, I've been out there. I just got back. I mean, I was close to where we're going recently. We're gonna pass one of the spheres I was just at. And it's, you know, you just got to keep your head about you.
Exactly.
I'll say it confidently while I'm flexing my bowstring.
And I'll agree that what's in the head is the most important fact of all of it. Like it's absolutely about what you know, keeping your head, you know.
I'm gonna point at my head and I'm gonna point at your head. I'm gonna be like, yeah. This guy gets it.
So
All right.
This vessel that we're going on to, have I heard of it? Do I know the crew maybe?
It is a wake jumper. It's not even a real space jamming ship. It is there's a few sort of inhabited asteroids being pulled along in the wake of the comet. There's a few sort of trash piles, a few sort of junk ships that kind of get pulled along the wake of the comet. So it's a wake jumper. There's places that people want to go to the wake either for salvage purposes or because people are living out there or hiding out there.
I'm gonna call upon my my low-born self and just happen to know one of the crew. Be like, "Hey, Jimmy, good to see you, man." And then I'll be like, "Hey, this is Jimmy. I think we'll be all right."
Yeah, Jimmy's sort of just nervous, Jimmy, this may be the fourth or fifth job. When you left, Jimmy was getting his first sort of waiter job, and he'll tell you this is like the fourth or fifth job he's had since you left, and maybe but Jimmy's definitely like great, happy to see you. Definitely can get you guys, up. They've paid for a direct route there. Normally the captain would just add this to a bunch of sort of message couriering jobs and goods couriering jobs, but they sort of paid for a direct route. But initially the captain was like, all right, you guys, once we get there, you guys will have an hour. You need to figure out how you get down off this ship to that ship. And getting two large objects too close to each other is a gravitational nightmare. And ships count as large objects, especially since the closest large object is where your gravity is pointed.
right.
So we don't want to get too close. So we'll need to figure out how to get you guys across. Jimmy's like, I think I can get the captain to agree to like give you 2 hours instead of just one. The original agreement was you'd have 1 hour to get in there and get off. I think I can get the captain to stick around for the extra hour.
See, I told you guys, Jimmy's got us. He's got us.
How when you say close, how close is close? Like how far away are we going to be from this other ship?
About 70, 80 feet. It's kind of the rough there.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around that 50 to 100 range.
And gravity is on or off, so is there an equilibrium point between them as they start to turn over, or is it like?
Oh yeah, there's definitely where you'll be close enough to one that if you fall, you'll fall towards it.
Okay.
Or if you're if you're closer to that one, you'll sort of.
I think my question is, does it start to lessen the further out you get?
No, you're always
Okay.
gravity is always
Towards
whatever.
That's what I was making sure. Yeah. Okay.
Until there's just nothing close and you're just floating.
Right.
That's called the Lagrange point. That came up in a different game I was playing recently. The Lagrange point is the point where you're being pulled by two objects, but you don't move.
And so,
Cow
then
drop
now you
that
know.
Knowledge. That knowledge. Every day's a school day.
The absolute smartest thing to do, if we can figure out a way how, is then theoretically just to get a rope with a heavy enough object on the other end that once it hits the Lagrange point, it drops down to the other side that we can climb up and then scale down. So
I like that idea.
that seems like it should be a normal thing on ships in this universe, but apparently, I'm going to invent
the normal thing would be to just drop a rope or a rope ladder down so that you're position yourself so that you were over the other ship and then drop a rope or a rope ladder down.
Right.
And like you said, keep it heavy enough that it sort of keeps going there's a little momentum pushing it past. And then that rope should get you close enough that you can tumble.
Right.
Hopefully the rigging's mostly intact, I will say, in character.
Ominous thing to say.
So, I mean, I think overall, but that would probably be the plan, is to try something along those lines. And so
I'm ready.
I'll, yeah. So, I mean, I think if they have a rope ladder, that's what we'll use. We'll try to use it to drop down and tumble down onto the ship.
Jimmy is, on the day out there, Jimmy has a whole bunch of finding out each other. The captain was really, really excited. The really reclusive captain was pretty excited to just let Jimmy take care of you. So pretty much anything you need, Jimmy's responsible for either telling you yes or no and bringing it to you.
Hey, Jimmy, your cousins still sell rope ladders?
Not anymore. No. Lost that job about 3 years ago.
Do you have any rope ladders?
Of course, yes, yeah. That's
This guy always asking the right questions.
Can we use one of your rope ladders?
that is in the. Yeah. I think that would make sense. You'd want us to position you over.
Yeah. Yes. Ideally, the thing that we talked about, where you would come out here and then drop us off of the ship. Yes, we would do that thing.
Right.
Jimmy, you're quite literal.
Right. I am very literal. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, he was a terrible waiter.
And then it may be ideal after the fact for the ship to move itself underneath the other ship so that we could potentially do this process in reverse on the way back.
You'll tie it off and then we'll swoop down under the other ship and then you'll just be able to climb downward.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, now yes.
We're going to do that now, Jimmy.
Jimmy, now is the time.
That's great. I'll make sure the captain knows the plan, and you'll tie off the ladder. All right. You're approaching, and your hopes about the rigging are a little dashed because you notice that very strangely, and though most ships, when they enter a planet or a comet or something else's atmosphere, they will, they have rigging specifically so that the wind helps them navigate to fly when they enter an atmosphere that has wind. You immediately see that the Void Hatred has no rigging. What it said, it looks a little like a dirigible gondola. That's for people at home. It looks a little like a very large dirigible gondola. You would of course have no idea what a dirigible gondola is. You fly in space. Dirigibles are so 6,000 years ago. But attached to the dirigible gondola is a almost something about half the size of the ship itself, that seems to be made entirely of bronze. And there's sort of rivet points in that bronze that seem to be sort of glowing red and spilling out what you think is the backward orientation of, or the back, orientation of that big bronze structure is smoke, just sort of falling, just trailing off into the wake. And you can see sort of all pretty much at this point, just kind of a perpetual distance from you. You can see like the wake side portion of Enoch sort of just moving forward perpetually. You're going along after it. And you wouldn't really even know anything was moving except for just that sense of like the smoke just sort of trailing on constantly behind. The ship is weirdly positioned in relation to you. It seems to have tilted heavily when it was by whatever struck its side and sort of tore a big gap in its side. You can also see there's some cannon windows. That you can't really see what's behind them. The whole ship is, other than those kind of glowing rivets in the bronze structure, the whole ship is pretty dark. There's a big rent in its kind of lower side around the hull. There's those kind of giant cannon windows sort of right above the hull, the hold. Right above the hold are those kind of giant cannon windows. There's some too small for anyone, but especially for Agnes, to get through portholes sort of above those cannon windows. And then there's clearly an open deck, like right above that. Getting into any of these is going to be a little tricky because the gravity of the ship is not orienting correctly to the gravity of the benevolent void. So there's a little bit of sense of you're going to kind of fall towards it. Its plane of gravity seems to be a little bit off. Or you're going to descend towards it, and you're going to be at an angle. And you can go for either the rent, you can try to go for the cannon windows, or you can try to go through that top deck. There are some structures on the top deck, but those are the three things that you can sort of point the ladder towards.
The top deck seems like the easiest target to hit.
Okay. There. You do you shoot the arrow, it hits sort of like, the ship's gravity, you're shooting it down, it goes at a good velocity as anytime you would shoot down, it goes even faster than and eventually it starts to sort of, it's only like 70 feet. So, your arrow is going to go 70 feet easily, especially. You shoot the arrow, and it doesn't really divert. It doesn't really divert. They've positioned themselves pretty well, but you can tell that whatever.
I'll put it out to my fellows.
All right.
It does look like, and it's really hard to see because everything down there is so dark. It does look like there was at some point a mast with some rigging. It's a pretty large ship for a single mast. It probably would have been easier to navigate with a double. but that mass seems to be fallen. You can't tell if it fell onto the deck or fell out into the void at some point, but it does seem to be broken.
All
So it's either any rigging that was down there is sort of on the deck, and you're going to be probably walking about like a 20, 30 degree angle is what you guess after kind of watching this, that the ship is sort of rolled and its gravity sort of adjusted. So you're going to be walking a little like you're on a hillside.
I can handle that. That's my real life house.
Shut up, Seattle.
So the rope ladder goes.
I feel like something is expected of me here, so I guess I'll go first.
You are the youngest.
Yeah, I'll look at them and I'll be like,
and I'll advise you on your approach without hesitation. Like I'll tell you about the pitch and the angle and the escape velocity that you need to be at.
You've read all about the theories of ladder climbing.
That's right. Highly knowledgeable in ladder climbing.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'll begin to pick my way at your leave.
Agnes is definitely pretty nervous watching you go over. This sort of thing is very not her strong suit, and so she's glad you're going first, but is anxious for you and assumes that this will go wrong.
I will go over second. On the rope. Sensing Agnes's hesitation.
Are you giving Durgan some good space there?
Oh yeah. Oh, certainly. Like I probably will wait until his gravity has flipped, because then essentially whatever is happening, gravity is pulling us in two different directions, and that means our weight is not all cascading the same way at the same time.
Nice. Okay. So you get about halfway down, and just as Durgan kind of gets to the dangling portion, and this comes to the point where, like, the dark ship that you're on, and remember, no electronics, so you're going to need to, like, get off the ladder and then get a torch. Holding a torch in your teeth is a tremendously bad idea. For like speaking from as somebody who would be playing your dentist if you ever did that. Your dentist would strongly advise
he has a veil on holding things in your teeth.
So Durgan, you know that you're going to need to get on the deck and then get a light source going.
Absolutely. Do I need to make any rolls and successfully?
Yeah, a little bit with that shifting of weight. I just are you trained in athletics? Do you have athletics?
No.
Okay.
I'm just really dexterous.
Just spry.
Just spray, yeah.
And what's your dexterity bonus there?
1.
Okay. And what's your strength bonus?
0.
Okay. So this is a kind of like making the jump and shifting from like something that like you're kind of coming right down off the ship, and you're hanging and dangling, and all of a sudden like you're falling towards something else that's at a weird angle. I'm gonna have you roll 2d6. You're gonna aim for an 8. I'm just gonna have you just to keep your balance, make it a basic dexterity roll.
I rolled
2d6 plus 1.
So I got a 10.
10, nice. You land on the flat surface of the deck, but like I said, it's a little bit at an angle, or the 20% is a pretty substantial angle. It's not unheard of for a hill to have like a 20% 20% gradient, but it's a 20-degree gradient, but it's pretty rough when it's just a flat plank of wood.
Yeah.
That's suddenly like shifting under your feet, and that's the direction you're sort of off center. What is the first thing you do as soon as you catch yourself there?
I will take a knee to improve my base, so I'm not like sliding around, and then I'll spark a torch.
Nice. Okay, so you're sparking that torch. I think we are at the point where Carmack is coming down, ready to shift. And I think as soon as we get everybody on deck, we're going to take our break.
Sounds great.
Carmack, what do you're gonna do this? What is your strength and dexterity bonuses?
They're flat.
They're flat. All
Yeah,
right.
both.
You're just gonna straight up 2d6 roll.
I rolled an 8.
An 8. Nice. You land. Kind of catch yourself. And then and you see that Durgan, man, when that guy told you to hire Durgan, clearly the kid knows how to light a torch.
Yeah.
Get down there, light the torch, get the light on.
I mean,
and are you going for a?
He's even kneeling, obviously, in deference to my higher social status, which I mean is even more impressive. And so,
are you going for a torch or an oil lantern, Durgan? That's kind of up to you. You would have been supplied with whichever your preference was.
Torch is quicker, and I don't want to be fumbling around while I'm trying to hold my balance.
Right. Also, torches are great for hitting things with.
yeah, if you need to.
They double. Yeah, they double. Like it's really hard to like. You break a lot of glass when you hit things with the lanterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Agnes, it's finally you.
Yeah, Agnes is like working herself up to it. At first, she wants to follow Carmack's lead and sort of wait till he gets to the flip point and then head down. But she even once he gets to that point, it's hard to really work herself up to it. So she waits until they're down there. She sees that Durgan has lit the torch, so she has sort of a better sense of how far away it is, and steels herself and climbs over the side and starts climbing the ladder.
How rough is your dexterity?
Well, I rolled snake eyes when I was rolling my character, so it's as bad as it can possibly be.
All right. So you're gonna roll 2d6 at -2.
Yeah. So yeah, she's strong as heck, but yeah, not great with agility or especially climbing a ladder that switches gravity halfway through. Not what she's comfortable with. So I fully expect this to go very bad.
It's the landing on your feet when you come off the ladder.
All right, here we go. I got snake eyes again.
That's perfect.
He rolled a 0.
Yeah. I rolled so bad it's like she didn't even try.
You know how that, I do love that. Like you get to the end of the tumble point and you're just like, forget it.
Forget it. I'll just try and endure this fall.
What's your strength bonus, Agnes?
12. So that's how I started my rolling for my character. I rolled 2 6s and then 2 1s in succession.
Let's do a 2d6 roll with 2 plus 2.
2d6 roll
plus 2.
All right, let's do it. I got a 7, a 9.
A 9, nice. Yeah, you can figure out now really easily that you're here just by feel. You can't really see well, but by feel, you can tell that when whatever it was that had been serving as a mast broke, it sort of collapsed onto the deck. Because you're catching yourself on that and the mess of ropes that are tangled around it, and the big sail that's sort of tangled around it. So that's great. It was really nice of them to leave that here for you, especially since the far rail of the ship, opposite to where you guys came on, it's the downward tilt is towards, is definitely not there. So the sort of broken rigging is the one, was kind of the one hope you had, and it's good. So you're going to want to get to your feet pretty carefully as you look sort of up that 20-degree incline to where Carmick and Durgan are standing, and it's that's kind of slow effect as a torch lights, as you get a little bit from that first light, and then it starts to get that full glow. Y'all can see, you're looking up, Agnes, and you can see Durgan standing with a torch and Carmack standing there, and then right behind them, a very tall figure with a tightly fitted jacket and a tricorn hat, but you can sort of see the stars behind him through his sort of ethereal form. And you hear a sort of resonate, and all of you have, especially you, Durgan, you've been on ships, that most ships that you have to travel on are powered by ghost. So you've heard ghostly voices before, but not anyone this resonant or strong. Like, well, the rest of them left, but now I have 3 more. Welcome aboard. And I think we're going to go.
Yeah. Awesome.
To a break.
Yeah, we are playing Chronicles of the Spacejammer, Enoch's Comet.
Enoch's Wake.
Enoch's Wake. We are playing with Richard, who is the author of the game, designer of the game. It's a Troika SRD game with support for Traveller. It has a lot of great Traveller vibes to it. I'm loving it so far. We just landed on this derelict spaceship to retrieve the alchemical heart of a pirate captain, and have encountered this figure. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Here's a little bit more information about the game. I'll drop the link in there. Also, if you're here right now and you haven't followed this game yet, I'm going to drop that link. And we are reminding people that over the course of this month, it's Zine Quest right now. There are hundreds of games that are dropping right now. Small creators, first-time creators, people who have this passion project, this thing that they've built that they love and they just want to share with people. Backing those games for just $1 and then sharing them online does a lot for those small creators. A lot of them are their goals as low as $200. So we're doing a thing called $28, 28 days. If you see Zine Quest projects out there that you like, but you don't have a huge budget, just backing them for $1 and then sharing it does a huge amount to help those creators. So while we're on this 5-minute break and we're taking a stretch and refilling our beverages and everything else, maybe pop over to Kickstarter real quick and look at a couple projects there. Maybe back somebody for $1 and share them out. If you need any recommendations, we've got some great ones on the channel. Yes, the Popish Plot, powered by ghosts. You're going to find out all about it. We'll be back in just 1 second. And so, with that said, we are... All right, and we are live again here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. We are playing Chronicles of the Spacejammer with. Dang it! I was practicing your name upstairs again because I was like, I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do, and I had it in my head. I even said it to myself like 3 times.
Yeah, you do.
But then you look at it. You look at it, and it gets hard in your brain. Richard Ruane.
You are so right. That's twice in a row.
There we
You
go.
got it.
All right. It is exactly like it's spelled. That's the thing. It's just when you look at the vowel blocks together, you want to say something else. And so, super excited to have him with us here. Had a massive Kickstarter last year that I really enjoyed, that I really love. Borrow Keep. Saw that he was doing this. It was on our top 10 list. I reached out to him after we did that list and just said, hey, I'd love to have you on if you have time in basically next week, because that's the time that I have. And he was 100% down to come on and run it for us. It is a space fantasy system using the Traveller SRD with support for Troika. If you don't know what that means, that's fine. It means a very, very old system that had some really great character building mechanics. Character building was basically a mini game. It was a hard sci-fi setting for the most part. And then a very modern minimalist system, Troika. And those two things actually marry in some really cool ways. And I love what you've done with it to build this game out. And we're going to keep on playing after having encountered this this ghostly figure aboard this ship.
All right. Agnes, you looked up and you saw your two friends standing there, and then the ghostly figure.
Outer Space Ghost Pirate.
Yeah, an outer space ghost pirate standing there. You can also somewhere like to your left, as you're tangling yourself for your own safety in this rigging, you see something else caught in the rigging about 15 feet from you.
Mm-hmm.
There are the bottom ends of someone's very large boots.
Oh, neat.
Durgan and Korvac, you saw Agnes come tumbling by, and then you saw, in your light, and then you saw her, and then about the time you turned to look at Agnes, you heard that voice, and you look over and you see indeed a very tall, imposing, probably almost as tall as the ghostly clothes he's tearing, or clothes he's wearing are torn, but they are still very, very, very expensive. Certainly, you, Cormac, with your upper class upbringing and having spent time in university, would have can see these are tailored, fine clothes out of good cloth.
Mm-hmm.
And you've traveled about, Durgan. You can easily spot that these are tailored, fine clothes of good cloth by a person who loves color.
This is a fancy ghost.
It is certainly a wealthy ghost, or was in life.
Right. And so what is commonly known about ghosts?
Both of you have a little bit of lore, don't you? Or Cormac, is that mainly you?
Oh no, it's
I
not
have
me.
2 lore.
It is Agnes. I know alchemy and science and
right.
and research.
So I think that I think Durgan and Durgan, do you have much in the way of like the lore skill, or?
I do not.
All right. Yeah. Durgan, what you know about ghosts is they're really helpful in powering ships that travel through the stars. That requires a lot of magic power, and ghosts are pretty much big balls of undead magic power. And they are significantly more reliable than demons, and less likely to wear out than mortal.
So does this
mortal arcanist?
Does this indicate a containment issue?
No, you think that this you don't think this is the ship's ghost. You think this is the captain's ghost. But you've never just met a free roaming ghost before. You know, theoretically they exist, but you've never just met them hanging out before. Agnes, would you like to What's your intelligence bonus, by the way, or education
Ooh,
bonus, whichever is
I think-
whichever the better of those two is. And
I
you
have
froze
a
up there a little
very
bit.
high education bonus.
Okay.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, I have an education bonus of +2. I didn't roll that well. I
And you
just
have
kept
2 in
improving it.
lore. Yeah, right?
I have a 2 in lore. Yeah.
Would you roll at +4? Let's see. You should make this roll, but let's just for fun.
Let's see. I got a 7 +4, 11.
Yeah, yeah. Man, what was the point of even making you make that roll? It's +4. It's
To
gonna
see what I
knock
know
you out of
about
the
ghosts.
park. Yeah. Well,
Oh,
you
I
know a
think he
lot
was
about ghosts.
questioning. I think he was questioning why he didn't just tell you the information.
Yeah, yeah. Agnes, you know that ghosts are not as incorporeal as people sometimes say. In fact, sometimes they can make themselves fairly physical when they want to be, both to their own detriment as well as to their own advantage. And that sword that he's holding, sort of loose, cutlass that he's holding sort of loose in his hand, is probably not as ineffective as one who could see, who's seeing through the cutlass might hope.
So
But you're about,
if
about
I'm down
15
down
feet from the body and about 15, 20 feet from your friends.
I think that the ghost is unusual, but not necessarily threatening us yet.
Right.
So I think Agnes is more concerned with the body that is more accessible to her. So I think she's going to try and sort of pull the rigging towards herself. I don't think she wants to clamber over there because she already plummeted once. So she's just trying to, use her big, powerful Minotaur arms to pull all the rigging towards herself so she can scope out that body.
Do you have are you trying to be subtle about this, or are you just trying to are you just gonna?
I do have a skill in stealth. I can do it a little subtly, but I don't know if she's particularly concerned, It's more just, hey, all right, we're on the ship. Let's start looking around.
And the two of you see the ghost. You hear the ropes dragging from where Agnes is, and you see the ghost turn. What are you two of you doing?
I'll offer you my torch, so I can pull out my bow.
I mean, I'll take the torch.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. We were led to believe the ship was derelict.
It's only as derelict as a dead or abandoned crew. Now that you're here, it's occupied, it's crewed, it's ready to fly again, isn't it?
I mean, I guess if the implication is that you're wanting us to take your ship back to the city, I'm sure we can assist with that.
No, not the city.
Oh well, that's our mandate.
I've never really been welcome there.
Well, I mean, you don't have to go. We can take the ship there. You can just
I
stay
am
nearby.
your captain.
Okay.
What are you dragging over there?
Oh, me? Oh, hello. My name is Agnes. A pleasure to meet you. What was your name?
Captain is what you can call me. Or
Oh,
sir.
Agnes really likes names.
Captain is what you can call me. Captain Bale, if you're looking for something
Captain Bale, a pleasure to meet you. You can also call me Captain. I'm...
Oh, dang it. That was a horrible
Oh.
time to freeze. He'll come back. We missed the joke. You're Captain.
just Captain Agnes. Just as long as we're giving titles instead of names, she wants to stay on equal footing.
What are you captain of?
Well, that's a good question. What are you the captain of?
I'm captain of this ship.
Ooh, it seems like you're doing a pretty poor job.
The ship. Well, I mean, even if we were, and I'm not saying we're not inclined to go in the direction you have intended. The ship itself does not seem to be capable at this point.
Capable?
Yes, I know that you're probably lighter of foot than you used to be, but I don't know if gravity still holds sway over you. But the reason we're standing at this somewhat awkward angle is that your ship is, well, it's tilted. It's tilted sideways, and there's smoke spewing out the back. And I mean, maybe that's a design feature and not a bug, but it's not, as far as any of my research goes, common for a ship by any means, and typically indicates a state of poor repair.
You talk a lot, don't you?
Captain, I can confirm that is not normal for a ship.
I'm so sorry, Durgan. Are you talking to me or to Bale?
Oh no! I'll look back and forth, unsure of how to clarify.
Durgan, don't worry. You could be talking to both of them. It's fine.
I was addressing the room of captains.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we all get a promotion. I think we don't normally have a ship, so this is definitely an aggressive stance, not a normal thing.
Yeah.
She's not normally the captain of anything. For the record.
Well,
Just for canon out there, for anybody watching who is really confused about what happened on the last episode of this one shot.
well. I see you all have got mouths on you. Well, your shades have mouths on you, though. Or will they serve just as well as crew, but more quietly?
I think he's going to kill us.
I think that's what he's implying. I'm going to step back and let the captains discuss this.
I think Agnes is going to quickly look around that body that she was pulling towards her.
That body is kind of coming towards you in it's a little broken. There's a couple of pieces of that body. Well, the first part is the lower half, and then you see the upper half sort of, but it's strikingly and messily, but still dressed much like the ghost you are looking at.
Yeah, I think she like realizes this and then kind of like props up the body, like as if showing it to the captain, and just looks inquiringly at him.
Let that go. Put it back where you found it and stand up and move away.
I do have 3 points in ventriloquism. I'm just kidding.
I was trying to figure out a tactful way to get there.
It's about to get weekend and Bernie's in here.
Agnes says, yes, I can let this go. In fact, it seems rather unsanitary to keep this on the ship at all. We should probably, give the old funeral at sea here. I can just as easily let this go off the side if you'd prefer. Get it off of our ship. You and I.
You put it back exactly where you found it.
Well, now that's just unreasonable. It was tangled up in ropes. I don't think I can get it exactly back where it was.
I may be able to. Let me have the body.
Agnes, just sort of like beckons, like, yes, come on over. Let's
I'll grab the
ship
body.
above, that ship above is waiting for you, is it not? The one that's moving out of position.
Yes, I think it'll be the ship below relatively shortly. It depends on how well Jimmy does relaying information to the captain. It does also mean there's a chance
It'll be the
that.
ship not flying when I take its crew.
I mean, are you going to go over there?
I have my ways. At that point, he sort of raises his cutlass.
I want
Which of you wants to come at me first?
I'm just going to look at the body. Is there like a hole? Is there an obvious sign of death?
There is a vast sort of wound to his side that seems sort of dark and dry now, but was probably messy at one point in time.
How near is that wound to where, let's say a heart might be?
It is below the rib cage, so.
Okay. I'll let Agnes and Durgan deal with that. I'm going to get your body back where you wanted it.
Yeah,
all of you
Agnes.
stand up and move away.
I thought you wanted your body back where it was. I'm moving it that direction.
Are you trying to
I'm trying to disguise my
yeah.
I'm trying to disguise I'm trying to get my body between him. I'm trying to get them between my body and him. I'm trying to get my body between him and his body, while I am trying to reach up into that wound, towards where the heart would be to remove this alchemical heart.
Yeah, I'm gonna look back and forth at these city people antagonizing the ghost, and I'm just like sigh audibly, like like very nervous. This isn't how it's supposed to go.
Cormac, are you trying to make it seem like you're doing what you're told he asked you to do initially?
Yes.
Or what he told Agnes, yeah. So.
Yes, yeah. I'm trying to put it back, and I am moving the ropes around with one hand while using the other hand to probe a cavity.
What's your intelligence bonus?
It's +1.
And how do you have any training in deception?
I have 1 in deception.
Nice. So I'd like you to roll 2d6 +2. See if he falls for it long enough to get you next to the body. He's not going to fall once you.
That is a 10.
See that you do. Now the rest of you move away.
Agnes stands up and moves aside, or rather, I think continues, heads for the ghost, but tries to keep in between line of sight. She picks up what Carmack is throwing down and is trying to obscure that a little bit also.
Durgan, anything you're doing? Are you keeping your bow raised, lowered?
I'm keeping my bow ready. I'm not raising it, but it does have an arrow nock, and I'm whenever one of my cohorts moves, I move to maintain the correct line of attack on the captain.
One thing you notice, Cormac, is that there is a scabbard sort of laying closer to you. You think it got disconnected from the body at some point.
Okay.
There is a sword in the captain's sort of, mostly broken hand, tightly clutched.
Okay.
It looks a lot like the cutlass that is, or I should say the cutlass. It looks like a lot of the cutlass his ghost is carrying as well. What do you do as soon as you get over there?
I mean, like I said, I'm trying to figure out if the heart is still in the body or not.
What are you doing to do that?
Oh, I'm sticking my hand inside the cavity wound and turning him into my Muppet, which I used hesitantly today after certain internet news broke. But no, I'm digging around in the cavity to try to reach the heart.
Tickling the old ivories, assuming that ribs are made of ivory.
The lookout skill at all?
I do.
You're not close enough, I don't think, to do much about it. But you will see exactly what happens as it's happening.
My head gets cut off.
Cormac, you brace yourself and you reach in. And you're trained in the sciences, right? You've got some.
I have
training in the
science, I have
sciences.
alchemy, I have a point in medicine also.
You probably had to deal with cadavers before as part of your training. You reach in past the lungs, and then you start to feel something that a vibration is. If something is very slowly beating, like just inches from your hand. And I'd like you to roll lookout, but see, you're not trained in lookout. So it's at -3 plus intelligence. So this is going to be at -2.
I don't like that. Ooh, but I did roll a 10, so.
A 10, so you still got over an 8?
Yep.
Nice. All right. So you will see this coming and have a chance to dodge it. And I'm going to kind of keep doing in my, like, y'all will do all the rolls tonight. So the arm, two things happen sort of at once. As soon as you sort of reach in, you sense a stillness from the other side of the deck, and then you hear the scream treachery, and then the undead's arm that's holding the sword or the cutlass lifts. Just as while your hand is in his chest cavity, inches from whatever is beating in there, and starts to move toward you. You can try to roll away or block it or come up with something else in that mode, or you can keep trying to grab and pull at the heart. Which do you want to? One is not going to go well for you harm-wise, but
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
This is entirely out of my character's forte of abilities. I think that he can probably grok that enough with his background. Will probably cause him to just go for the heart.
First, I would like you to.
And did the body my hands inside of yell treachery?
No, the ghost yelled treachery.
Okay, just making sure.
That's way better. Still not great, but it's way better.
Right.
I
thought maybe I could get them to fight each other. Like that was
yeah. Like, living people fight themselves. The dead are past that.
That's right.
Why don't you roll 2d6 plus your strength bonus. Tell me if you get an 8 or not.
I do not. I got a 7.
Nice. Okay. So here's a fun little thing I tend to throw into Traveller SRD games that you might be able to. What is your strength score right now?
Mine is a 7 straight up.
There's not going to be any sort of long-term negative effects for you by knocking that down to a 6 short-term, by kind of taking that as damage to your strength score.
Okay.
There's not going to be short-term negative effects right now, other than having a slightly lower strength score.
Correct.
That does take it to 8, which means you have dislodged the heart. You will still need to finish removing it, but it's no longer attached to anything.
Okay.
Though, as you do so, all right, I assume you're good with doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you do so, you tug, and it dislocates. It does not stop beating. And then the sword connects with you, or the cutlass connects with you. I don't know why I'm stuck on it being a sword. The cutlass connects with your back. What is your endurance?
Oh, running I don't like. I'm a -1 on endurance.
Oh, no, what's your total endurance
5.
score?
5.
5.
And in the 6 in the strength reduction, was that an effect of grabbing it, or was that as part
That
of
was
the
sort of like that was kind of exhausting yourself to
Yeah.
just make it sort of function.
No, that's
That's
fine.
what I frequently do that when there's something short, because Traveller does damage straight to stats,
Right.
rather than having a pool of hit points or anything like that, which is about to happen to your endurance. Aren't you lucky?
Yay.
So you now have 0 endurance.
I do not have 0 endurance. I have.
Yeah, you now have 0.
Oh, I now have 0 endurance.
What is?
Does that include the 1 point of damage that my armor would have protected me against?
No, it doesn't. Okay, you have 1 endurance.
Have endurance.
You have an endurance. I rolled very poorly on that damage roll, but the did not cut deep into your flesh, but it knocked the wind out of you and pound, like the fist and the pummel just sort of hit you, kind of broadside. It was always gonna be hard for him to stab you with it, since you're sort of right there on top of him.
Inside of him with my arm, yes.
Yeah. What are you doing there, Durgan? In the torch, in the torchlight that Cormac's carrying, you can sort of see what's happening.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm probably gonna shoot something. I'm torn between the ghost captain and the actual captain. Tony's character Karmic being inside of the other one makes it kind of risky, but I'm a pretty good shot.
You're a pretty good shot, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and disable that thing before it can hit him again.
All right. Any trick shot movement you're doing there? Or are you just going to basic, like, hope to hit it hard?
I am going to aim carefully as to not wound my friend.
That's the ultimate trick.
How to act without wounding your friends. We're all trying.
Yeah.
We're all trying.
Why don't you? What's your dexterity total?
Total is 11.
So that's +1 bonus, and then you have how much do you have in sort of your archery? Plus
2.
1, 2. Nice. All right. So go ahead and roll it +3.
8.
8. Nice. Nailed it. Scraped right past Carmack by a few inches and lands in the otherwise desiccated corpse of the captain. And why don't you roll 2d6?
7.
7. It like goes through like his torso, and Cormac, you can see it go through his torso just inches from your hand and pin him. You were hoping to the deck, even though he seems to be still moving, and your hand is still inside him. Agnes, what are you doing?
I think that this whole time I've had my back to Cormac because the obvious threat has been the ghost captain, who is yelling and stuff. And so I think whenever I sort of hear all this scuffle happening, I just head for the obvious threat and charge towards the ghost captain.
Nice. So you what is your intention? Are you trying to like punch him?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like to make this interesting, I feel like I could just try and barrel into him, but he does have a sword and I have nothing. So I think I'm gonna try and like juke him out, just like run towards him, but at the last second sort of like dodge to one side and then swing around and clock him, because then I get to use my extremely bad stat, which is my favorite.
So
I feel like if I'm gonna land a good punch on him, I gotta dodge his sword first, because I'll definitely be able to punch him, but seeing whether or not I get stabbed first is more exciting.
I'm gonna have you roll with strength plus. Do you have deception?
We'll
I
give
do
you-
not.
All right. So I'm just gonna have you roll with straight up strength for this kind of feint. Right at first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I got a 9 plus 2.
Yeah. He's like you go around like you're gonna and he sort of like stands his ground at first and just sort of yells, and then all of a sudden you like flip around. And I'd like you to roll. You're not particularly trained at throwing big punches,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna let you roll at +1 anyway, because you kind of outsmarted him. So
Sure.
that's a little bit to offset like the untrained penalty.
All right.
Add your strength in, and then let's call it +2. Let's say your normal strength bonus.
All right.
It was a good, clever move.
All right. I'm going for just a big hook to the head. Yeah, that was a 10 plus 2.
Nice. Yeah. Your fist doesn't so much connect as it just kind of feels heavy as it sort of goes through. And he sort of howls. Would you roll 1d6?
1d6. That was a 5.
5? All right. And then let's come back. What do you want to do there, Cormac? Carmack?
I want to yank this thing out of his chest and roll away from this skeleton.
Let's have you make one more strength check. Not because it's not disconnected, but because at this point it's sort of like trying to like keep your arm inside.
That's also, by the way, one of the most terrifying things that's ever happened to my character. I just want to point this out. My arm is inside, and the insides are just trying to hold on to it.
Yeah, that's not good.
That is a 9.
A 9. You pull that out. And once it's free of the body just collapses.
I defeated it.
You sure
Sergey,
did.
what are you up to?
Well, seeing that he has it handled, how precarious is his situation? Is he like, because like you said, he's on like debris on a slanted ship facing oblivion, right?
And that on the if you keep going port side on this ship, which is the way it's tilted, you will be facing oblivion. Carmack does not look at this point like he's about to fall off necessarily, as long as he like can go slow.
I'll turn my efforts towards the captain, because apparently you can punch ghosts. So that'll be my character's realization that like, hey, he didn't like getting punched.
Wait a minute.
So I guess I will shoot past my other friend now in a dangerous manner. I'll aim. I don't know how ghost anatomy works, but I'll aim for his sword arm.
You know where you should have shot him?
Where?
In the ghost nads.
In the ghost nads.
Thank you for that.
Everybody's got them. I'll aim for his sword arm to kind of open up his defenses for Agnes.
Nice. Okay.
Love it.
Wow. So that's a 12.
A 12. All right. That is, why don't you roll 2d6 again?
That is a 10.
A 10.
Watch out, Agnes. I'm shooting fire.
He's howling, and I'd like all of you just to test your strength.
Keeps on
Strength
taking
is-
my strength away.
Yeah. So if you've taken damage to your strength, adjust that. But I think the only person who's taken damage to their strength is actually test dexterity. I should say that. Just test dexterity.
Oh, that's so much better. That's the same either way for me.
Yeah.
And so I rolled a 7. I did not pass either way.
All right. How'd
I
you do, Jurgen?
A 4.
A 4. And
I
Agnes,
got a 5 minus 2.
Oh, no.
Agnes, you were standing tall and proud, and all of a sudden, as he screams as the arrow goes through him, the ship starts to rumble and shake. And then you hear like an explosion somewhere from far down below you, and you see more smoke start to spew out of that, whatever that structure is that's attached to underneath the ship.
The ship's goiter.
That solid bronze subship, also known as a goiter in space jamming terminology.
That's imagery right there.
Kind of like starts spewing more smoke. There's an explosion. It shakes, and then all of a sudden, the gravity on the ship, just sort of the plane of gravity on the ship, just sort of like tilts even further. And Agnes, you're standing up on sort of the starboard side of the ship where you first came on, and all of a sudden, like it tilts even further, and you just lose and goes. Both you and the body, Carmack, sorry, I'm gonna get that right before the end of the night. Sort of tangled in the rope, and you're sort of dangling over the port side edge of this ship
I got
with the dead body, and you're holding the heart in one hand, and you're sort of just tangled in the rope, and you catch yourself, Durgan. You're going to bounce and catch yourself. Carmack, what do? You are in the most precarious of positions.
Am I on the deck but hanging over the edge, or am I hanging over the edge on the ropes?
You're on the ropes, pretty much. Like the deck is, somewhere up there, but like, gravity's being weird right now. You're falling away from it, but the ropes are kind of keeping you, or you're sliding away from it, but the ropes are kind of keeping you from sliding too far.
I mean, has the other ship repositioned itself yet?
It has. It's about 50 feet roughly below you.
Because I don't want to leave my friends behind, but at this point, I'm halfway to home with the thing we need.
For what it's worth, I think Agnes, when she sees Carmack going over the side, then she would run over and start trying to haul those ropes up again. She was pulling them around before when they found the captain's body. So I think she just gets to whatever ropes she can reach easily and starts hauling the whole web up.
You're really strong, and you're gonna be kind of pulling yourself across. The fastest way is not to stand up and run. The fastest way is to scuttle over and then pull.
And yeah.
So this is gonna be a little bit of a disadvantage for you. So let's do a 2d6, just a +1.
You got it.
You got it.
Ooh, I got a 7.
You want to spend that strength point of strength?
That's with the
Would bring it up to an 8.
extra.
That does mean that your strength bonus. would
No,
go
sorry,
down.
I rolled a 6.
7.
Yeah, sorry. Yep. So I have a 7 total.
You have a 7 total. Do you want to spend a point of strength to bring that back?
Oh,
up to
sorry.
an 8?
So you
Okay.
can
Gotcha.
exert yourself.
This is like
You're kind of
gotcha,
exerting
gotcha.
yourself. Now, for you, that would take it from a 12 to an 11, which would mean that you are going to be at +1 from now on instead of +2. This exhaustion is really.
I think
That's not a permanent. That's you recover all that, but
No, yeah. I think she would. Yeah, if she thinks that Cormac is hanging in there, she's willing to do it.
Cormac, all of a sudden, like,
This is helpful to him. Sorry. Bugged out.
You pull Cormac over, and you pull him up kind of onto the sloping deck. And the three of you see, as you do that, the body jostles loose of the rope and falls away from the sloping deck down towards the benevolent void, positioning itself below you.
That's not where we want that evil body to go.
I mean, you have the heart. At this point, the captain's voice, a ghost, screams even louder. And as the body falls away, he just fades, but his screams get louder. And you hear a few more explosions from that kind of bronze glowing space below. And you start to see fire just sort of break out, kind of shooting off the port side.
Time to go. And I'm going to try to, as I kick off as hard as I can towards the other ship, I'm going to try to grab the captain's sword on my way, like that's in the dead body's hand on my way down.
Are you just falling, or are you going to, it's about 50 feet. Are you just going to fall, or are you going to try to like drag some?
No, I'm going to try. I'm trying to pull the other direction on the rope. Like, so
okay,
we had Agnes like heave me up, and then as I got up, I'm just like, no. I saw these explosions happen, and I'm like, nope. And I'd take the ropes that I was just entangled up into, like try to swipe that captain's sword and basically swing down on one of these ropes onto the thing, which is not anything I'm practicing, but I've done the research. I know it's possible, or just at least read that one trashy romance novel where the guy did it. One of the two.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slide down to where this is going on, and I'm gonna try to help Agnes tie this cluster of ropes off so that she can also utilize them to make it to the deck. And I'll be like, "Come on, we gotta go."
So I would like everybody to go ahead, and you're just grappling these ropes. Just make a strength check.
Three.
I got an
8.
8.
Yeah, I got 8 also.
Nice. And you got a 3. So Durgan, you went diving to see if you could help brace people, and instead you are slightly tangled and then sort of falling free. The rest of you are kind of pulling the rope, and it's kind of leading along with you, kind of slowing your descent from one ship to the next. As you get about 15, maybe 20 feet from the deck of the ship, you can see that the entire slowly flipping, bronze underside is like shooting fire out of its welded seams, and smoke and fire are coming out. And there seem to be sort of fiery figures emerging from those seams as well, like, slightly heated away. Fiery figures emerging. And then you see Durgan lose any grip he had of hope or of grabbing onto the rope with you guys and go flying off, almost passing you. What do the two of you do?
I have a question. I know we've established some of this already, but I still have to ask again. So if someone is out in between all of the spheres, is their gravity just oriented towards whatever the largest body near them is?
Right now, since this body...
No. This is totally theoretical.
Yeah, totally theoretical.
Take us out into the middle of space, or into the middle of the spheres. No spheres around. Am I being pulled towards...
Largest body near them, yeah.
Okay, so I am being pulled in some direction no matter what.
You're being tilted off one ship and falling towards another.
Oh no, but it's not right now. Like
Yeah.
that's not what I'm
Yeah.
asking. I'm trying to figure out if there was no large object nearby that I was aware of.
Right. That would you would generally drift towards or fall towards the largest.
Even if it was forever away, just whatever happened to be nearest, that's where you're going to be. Okay, cool. That's what I needed to figure out. That changes my dumb experimental alchemical idea. Or maybe it doesn't. I want to take the experimental flask that I have and negotiate with the GM thus way. I want to be able to throw it at Durgan, have it crack open, cover him, and suspend / change the direction of gravity for him.
Where do you want him to try to fall towards?
I think my ideal would be that it would suspend gravity for him, but if that's not a thing that exists in the universe, that's okay. I want him to stop in midair, basically. I want him to, I think that's part of the reason it's fun and theoretical. Like, we know that gravity always pulls people, but people have suspected that you might be able to break that in some way, shape, or form, but nobody's been ever able to prove it. Because it's also not a big deal. It's just the way things work, and you're usually on a.
It's experimental, so I'm gonna be really nice and just make it a -1.
Okay, that's fine.
So that'll be your intelligence plus your alchemy -1. I think that's a total of +2.
That is a total of +3, unless you're going to let me use my education instead.
No. This is experimental.
So yeah, that'll be total +2, which means that I rolled a 6, and that'll make it an 8.
Nice. Durgan, you knew your one hope as you went to free fall was to actually miss, and it was going to be quite a trick. Your one hope is to actually miss the deck of the ship of the benevolent void, which would then sort of put you in sort of orbit around it. You would sort of fall past it and then sort of swoop back around the other side. You'd sort of go into maybe an orbit around you and hope that someone nice would pull you out of it. But now there's a flask and then a liquid, and then all of a sudden you're just kind of floating.
I'll look down and try to orient myself accordingly.
And you two are just sort of sliding down the ropes until you get close enough that you can just sort of tumble.
Correct.
And I'm not going to make you roll for that. You done good. You've got the heart. You've got a sword. Well, what are you doing with that sword? Because you've got the heart, and you're going to need.
I feel like the sword is probably in free fall now, because I feel like I would have had to have let go of the sword to grab the potion. Like, I had to choose Durgan or holding onto this sword. But the sword is also moving in the same direction we are, so I'm just hoping that I can scrabble it after the fact.
I appreciate it.
And you see the void hatred, its bronze undercarriage bursting with elemental fire creatures, like just clawing out on like its ever rotating deck and walking across it and starting to cause it fire. And you hear the screams of Asher Bale as those explosions just kind of propel it out of Enoch's wake and into the void beyond. As you, two of you lower yourselves the 50 feet to the deck of the benevolent void, and one of you is just sort of floating somewhere, dragged along in the wake on your own. When you're pulled out of it before you discover whether or not you would keep drifting in the wake with this particular potion. And you're headed back towards Enoch. The heart in your sticky, amber-colored bloody hand.
A real alchemist tastes the work to make sure it's real.
It does not have the distinct iron tang of blood. There's some sort of weird potion going on in there. But in any case, I think is that a
We
good place to
we
call it?
defeated the evil Captain Alchemical Heart puzzle. No, that was an excellent place. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
at a blast. So I think that's a great stopping point. I'm sure that we have some sort of crazy shenanigan negotiation when we get back, and
yeah.
we'll come back next year and play the continuation of that. Right now, we're gonna do Reaction Roll. Reaction Roll is a live stream within a live stream. It's where we sit down with the creator of a game that we just played here on Plus One EXP and talk to them about that game. Today, we are sitting down and we are talking about Chronicles of the Spacejammer, Enoch's Wake with Richard. Dang it, I had it in my brain and I've done it twice so far. Come on, we can do it. Richard Ruane. Hey, 3 times in a row about his game, and I'm super excited to have him here with it. We just played it. I want you to meet a couple of the other players. I'm at Tony Vicinda. Not always at. If I just meet me in real life, you don't have to say at first. But if you're looking for me online, I'm at Tony Vicinda. I'm the Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP. You can find us across the internet at Plus One EXP or at plus1exp.com. We multi-class in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. We just want indie creators to be able to share the games with people, so we invite them on to come and run them for us before or after they are available to the public. Currently, the game we are playing is about to go to Kickstarter, right? You're going up next week, correct?
Tuesday. It starts Tuesday the 9th.
Awesome. But before we talk to Richard a little bit more and get to know a little bit more about this great game, I want to have you meet the 2 other people who are on stream with me. Jahan, go ahead and tell people who you are, where you're at, where they can find you online.
Oh yeah, hi. I'm Jahan, twitch.tv/Jahan. I'm a TTRPG streamer. Sometimes I do variety streaming, board game fanatic, and YouTuber at Fresh Out the Box. You can find me on Twitter at RockFact. But yeah, follow along, and I'm always posting different board games I'm backing on Kickstarter, which is way too many. Different TTRPGs as I play them and find them out, and you can watch our Warhammer fantasy role-playing game campaign, which is ongoing currently, on our Fresh Out the Box YouTube page.
There we go. And also with us, we have my good buddy Cal Shea. Cal, tell people who you are, what you do, and where they can find you on the internet.
Hey, I'm Cal Shea. I'm a amateur high school librarian and also RPG enthusiast, general enthusiast. There's a lot of things to be enthused about. Been watching a lot of Jackie Chan movies recently. That's exciting. I'm around on the internet at Cowshay, and I'm happy to be here and had a good time playing this game. I'm excited to talk about it.
And the most important thing to know about Cal on the internet is actually his letterbox lists. He is the best letterbox list maker that I know. Cal, give us a sample of one of your best letterbox lists.
I had one a little while ago of Daniel Craig movies where he goes to a giant mansion and wears a bunch of sweaters while he's investigating Christopher Plummer's family, but instead a woman who's younger than him and better at his job than him solves the mystery that he's there to solve. And also you see that woman throw up over the course of the movie. And that list was 2 movies, Knives Out and the David Fincher's version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Both of those movies. All those things are true of both of those movies.
And if you're watching with us live and you have a question about the game we just played, about Chronicles of the Spacejammer, or Traveller SRD, anything like that that you want to ask, feel free to type them into the chat. We will absolutely forward them to Richard. Richard, tell us a little bit about the game. Give everybody kind of your elevator pitch and what your plans for the project are. And then we're going to share with you what our thoughts were about the game.
Awesome. So the game is a classic style space fantasy. It is about sort of fantasy life in space. It is the sailing ships and other sort of open decks sailing through the ethereal void, or the astral void or astral sea, or whatever you want to call it. And it's set in the comet city of Enoch, which circles the 100 spheres of the known world. And it's all about citizens of Enoch who are looking to get rich, do good, or some combination of the two.
There we go. Awesome. I had a phenomenal time playing, but I'm going to kick it over to our guests first. Cal, why don't we start with you? What were your thoughts about the game? What was your experience playing? And then do you have any questions or thoughts for Richard?
Yeah, I had a good time playing it. I like the setting. It oh boy.
Oh, start
Oh
over.
boy.
You
Okay.
you enjoyed the setting. It
Was a good one. No, I felt like it was easy to tap into the vibe. Like it felt right from the get-go. I was like, all right, you know, I was just trying to. I didn't read up about the game much or anything in advance, so I was like, all right, well, let's just start doing stuff, see what happens, and it was fun to sort of immediately tap into. There's that almost like noirish vibe of like, oh, there's like, you know, there's the man and he's making us do stuff, but really it's about like swashbuckling around in space. And I feel like once we started swashing those buckles, then it was like, okay, yeah, I get what's going on, and I like that vibe of it felt kind of like gee whiz sci-fi stuff and kind of like a pirate movie. You know, it's fun.
awesome. Any questions
yeah.
you
have? Well, I guess in that vein, like, what are your influences there? Like, what are the games or, you know, movies, shows, books that you feel like sort of fed into your desire to have something like this in the world? Like,
I feel like the biggest one is clearly, you know, I owe a whole lot to TSR's old setting Spelljammer, which there was a whole lot of stuff that had gone on in sort of space fantasy before that, and you know, certainly Gary Gygax and others who wrote for D&D had speculated about like what a D&D, you know, spacey sort of setting might be. Gary, I think at some point one of the major D&D authors had talked about like, what, you know, who's to say your moon doesn't have an atmosphere, and if you flew there, you could you know, meet the people of the moon if you could find a way to fly all the way up there. And bring friends with you because you wouldn't want to go alone. So there's a little bit of that going in, and then sort of Spelljammer sort of really brought that to life, made it distinct. I think one of the things is there were a lot of British writers on Spelljammer, and so it brought a kind of odd Doctor Who vibe that was oddly sort of retro Victorian ideas of what science might look like, mixed with just outright sort of Victorian fantasy. And going into that, I think, you know, certainly when the BBC relaunched Doctor Who, that was very much that vibe, especially during the David Tennant years. That you just saw these crazy, strong steampunk inspired aesthetics kind of blending in, I wouldn't say magic, but definitely like science and weirdness with sort of an underlying steampunk aesthetic or an underlying Victorian aesthetic. While Russell Davies was showrunner, and I think that was so that Spelljammer, the early Doctor Who, there's a lot of that. You know, having ghost power ships is 100% straight out of Samuel Delaney's Babel 17. In which ghosts don't necessarily power ships, but ghosts are really sort of the literal ghost in the machine, who sort of monitor ships and keep them aware and going. And I think in that novel, the spaceship in that novel has 3 different ghosts: the eye, the ear, and the nose. And they sort of left their life personalities behind, and I really wanted to do something with that that's less computerized and more. And that's about, when they say ghost, they mean people, you know, essentially you've downloaded their cognition into a computer, and then you've re-uploaded their sort of cognition into a starship's computer.
Sorry, what was the name of that book again?
That was the Babel 17, I believe. He has some novels. Let me make sure that's actually.
Yeah.
the one I'm thinking of off the
Like,
top of my head.
we're all like, oh, let me
Yeah.
write down that sci-fi.
And that's not even a major plot point in the book. There's lots of really fantastic other gonzo weird approaches to sci-fi going on there. Like there wasn't a lot of early Delaney. Before there was all the weird sex stuff going on in Delaney, there was just all weird, computers and cognition stuff going on in Delaney. Before the 70s.
Circle of life.
I'm sorry?
I just said the circle of life.
Yeah, the circle of life. And the symbolism of the astrolabe and all that other stuff that sort of Delaney is known for. So that was definitely an influence. And then I think in a lot of ways, kind of the Planescape and things that have fed off of Planescape have been big influences. Certainly all the weird cities in D&D's history, the most prominent, the most famous one actually not being from TSR, being from Judges Guild, City State of the Invincible Overlord, which is very much a weird, it's Cthulhu City before anybody imagined there was Cthulhu City.
Right.
It's just like there is a human in control of the city, but the human is working for and with all these sort of weird extra dimensional beings. And then you get to Planescape by Monty Cook and Company. And then the things that Monty Cook spun off, Tollus, kind of picking up on that same vibe, is Invisible Sun, Jex Shear's Umberwell, and then Jason Pitt's Sigil, or Sig, not Sigil. Sigil was the name of the Planescape city. Sig, are all big influences there. And then specifically within this kind of the Spelljammer universe, the Rock of Brawl was this kind of wonderful weird city that they kind of plopped down into the middle of the Spelljammer universe. So this is one of those ones where gaming products of yore were sort of the big influence.
That's awesome.
It's I think one of the fun things about those where they were sort of exploring. So what if we actually built a universe that had all these things that we always put into one and assume it'd be medieval? What if we stopped assuming it would be medieval and started redrawing it from all these things that we say are there?
Yeah, I also love it because I feel like these are a lot of the properties you're talking about are a lot of the things that I feel like even with the OSR, like old school Renaissance movement, are the parts that we were like, well, we're just going to leave that stuff behind because it was weird or it didn't fit into the like strict retro clone of first and second edition in the way that a lot of people expected it to. And so I feel like people haven't picked that part of like classic RPG tabletop culture back up and brought it back in, which is one of the reasons it was super attractive. I even remember when you first tweeted out about the project, like I and two other people read it as if you were doing a Chronicles of Spelljammer, and we're like, how did you get the IP for this? Like, and then we're like, oh no, we both misread this. Like, we're both totally wrong. It was you. So, with that said, Jahan, what did you think? What were your thoughts? What was your experience of playing?
Yeah, man. I mean, the setting, it's got to be said again. Great, awesome. Comet City. I mean, it doesn't get much cooler than that, you know. I love the Spacejammer, Spelljammer, boats in space thing. Great. I love I've been playing more of these like rules light systems with the quicker character creation lately. It's a new thing for me. I started off in third edition. Like I thought that crunch meant it was a good game. You know, I equated like the pain it caused me to the quality of the system, you know. But I've been having a lot of fun with these systems with fewer dice types. You don't need 30 dice. I like that you can exhaust an attribute to perform a feat of heroism as opposed to standard like luck or fate points.
Yeah, I like that too.
Oh, cool.
I definitely the whole demons and ghost ship thing. I definitely got like the sentient sun Doctor Who episode vibe.
Oh, nice.
Where they accidentally solar scoop solar power from a living sun, and it's like, and then at that point they're just like riding a bull and it starts making, you know, like it was. I love that I love Doctor Who first off. And I definitely see what you're saying with the feel there. I love you never know what a situation could be. It makes something that we all know, you know, fantasy unknowable again. You know, anything could happen. Anything will happen. And it's exciting. You know, it's fun. I don't know what's going to happen. I've never seen somebody animate a corpse while someone was inside it. Like, I mean, that sounds gross, but you know what I mean? Except for like Giovanni and Vampire. They do that kind of thing. It's gross. But yeah, no, I'm definitely going to use that in my D&D campaign. I've never made someone search the inside of a corpse either, I don't think. And that was definitely a cool moment.
I, as a player, have searched the inside of corpses far more than anyone else I know. I'm not gonna lie. I'm totally down for it anytime it comes up. I'm like, is there something inside the body? Because I will reach in there and grab it.
I will keep that in mind in case I run you sometime soon.
Sometimes when you hear hooves, it is zebras, and you do need to get something from out of inside the zebra. but Tony always goes there first.
It is, you know, that may come from all the 4-H exposure I had to like veterinary science growing up, but I'm always down to like reaching inside a creature, human or other. Jahan, what any questions you have for Richard? Any other thoughts? Anything you want to drop?
So I'm a big fan of Kickstarter. I love the platform. I love what it does for just people. You can get your game made. It's cool. What are your plans? What are you trying to get? Are you trying to do hardcover? Are you going to do setting books? Are you mostly system with a little setting? Will there be creature compendiums? Those kinds of things.
This all started with a digital-only zine I did last year, not for Kickstarter. It was really just 36 Troika backgrounds that could fit in a Spelljammer universe. But I called it Spacejammer. And then as I filed the serial numbers off of Spelljammer, I was finding I was going in my own direction a lot. And so that's sort of where a lot of the world came from, was that sort of initial sort of Troika zine. And that's kind of where my commitment to continuing to do some Troika support and Troika conversions sort of definitely comes from. So that's always going to be the volume 1. I'm going to expand that, kind of re-release volume 1 as with stuff for those 36 characters to be in this system, and that would definitely be, you know, characters from, you know, a larger portion of the 100 spheres, and then so there's this book or this zine. It's going to be a classic sort of zine format. I find working in zine format, I think one of the things that's exciting about Zine Quest is it forces me to simplify what I'm doing a lot in terms of physical project. And I know people will like, run around the edges of that a little bit. And I certainly encourage them to do that. I'm not about like, anybody else following rules, but it keeps me focused on simplifying. So it will start with about a 50-page saddle stitched zine in the sort of 5.5 by 8.5 format that I tend to use a lot. I know that there's A plus a number papers in other parts of the world. Folded over legal sheets is what I got, or folded over letter sheets is what I got.
I mean, I'll be honest. I've become an A4 over. Wait, A4, A4. A5.
It goes up. A5 is the
normal size. I've become a fan of the British format, that slightly wider feel. Yeah. I like it, but I also like. It's not what I produce in most of the time. I produce in 5.5 by 8.5 sheet, and so. But I do like the slightly wider, weird format. Weird for us, normal for everybody else. Yeah. And what's your funding goal to start out with for this project?
It'll be 3,000, and the reason I'm having a slightly more ambitious funding goal, the main book is going to be written by me, but the adventure book is going to be almost all external writers, so they'll be paying for that. The adventure book right now is PDF only, but I'm probably gonna get a new cover for that. That'll be one of our stretch goals, is get a new cover for the book, for the adventure book. It'll start as PDF. If we get really good funding and all the writers I want, we might talk about releasing it as a separate physical product. And then at one point, I'd like to do a book of ships. There'll be some really roughed up ship rules in this, and then we might imply or suggest some ship rules to use depending on the adventures people hand in. That's one of the reasons I wanted to go with an adventure book first, is I wanted to see what people wanted to do before I started writing GM facing rules for what needs to happen in the universe. So before we make a super detailed, here's how to build a space jamming ship, I want to make sure that's the thing that people want, because I feel like that's one of those things that when people write outer space games, people get really excited for ships. But when people actually play outer space games, like, my friend Chris Wolf, who is a brilliant game designer, one of my favorite people, wrote an entire spacefaring space opera game that has no ship rules and no space combat rules. He was just like, skip over that. And Offworld is a great game. It's one of my favorites to play with. Mothership, another one, does not have some generalizable set of ship rules or ship. Ships are space, or ships are a place where encounters and events happen. They're not like, you don't go through Mothership, planning to blow somebody else out of the sky.
Right.
Or if there is, there's rules in the module for it. So I wanted to see sort of, what do people want to do before I start writing space combat rules or anything like that. And we'll suggest some of the things that can happen there. But for me, I think a lot of the stuff that's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of fending off and dealing with pirates, and then or doing or pirating other people. But I think in a Age of Sail type thing, you're rarely just trying to outright blow somebody out of the sky. You're usually trying to get aboard their ship and
take
get
it
something.
over.
Yeah. And
I love the ship to ship feel. Like I think you've caught that, especially with the gravity rules. I think that makes some really fun things happen, and would actually force ship to ship combat to happen in some very interesting ways. Which I think the idea of that is all that has to be communicated, right? Like the mechanics of a lot of that, and that keeps a good party focus instead of it blowing out to all right, now you're fighting boats against boats. So roll a bunch of dice to see if your boats destroy each other and sink. And well, they did. Now you're just floating in space towards the nearest sphere until you eventually create into it. There's a whole lot going on there. No, I super enjoyed it. I think my question along the lines with some of the guys, I love the feel of it. I'll have more thoughts in a polished review coming up. But I think I'm just most curious a lot more about the lore. Like when we went through the character creation process, one of the things we talked about this before we went live, I cut my teeth on GURPS. I love GURPS because there's so many pieces that you go into character building that it is not min-maxing like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's point maximizing around the type of build I want to create for this specific character. It's hyper detailed. Creating a character in GURPS, once you're good at it, the core will take you 15 minutes, but refining it still takes an hour and a half, 2 weeks, because you just,
and that's part of the play.
Just back and forth. That's part of the fun, right? Yeah. But you can sit down and be like, here's pre-gens and roll 3d6 and go under and just play. And Traveller and GURPS both do from that same time period, do that thing well, where it's like character creation is a mini game. And you're doing this intensive work and you're watching this character grow. In classic Traveller, you can die in character creation. In this one, you can get maimed, you can get abandoned somewhere and end up in huge debt because of that. You can end up underneath the thumb of a lot of bad things as your character is coming in and growing as their role. And I love that feel of Traveller. I thought it had a very natural feel of how you would do this in Troika also too. And so it could easy to see that influence. But then you just hit the mechanics and they're easy. They're simple. You're rolling 2d6. You're trying to hit 8. You've got modifiers that get you to and from that. You're never modifying that number. What you're modifying is your ability to get that number or not based on the dice that you have. Skills and stats stack in a really easy way. And like I said, all that's classic feel. And then I think a lot of people are like, well, where's my HP? And it was one of the things I did in Beards and Beyond that I was like, there are very few games that do this where stats are your HP. And I think it's a really elegant, not just because I did it, because I didn't create it. It's a really elegant design tool. And there's a lot that goes into figuring out exactly, okay, how do I want to sacrifice myself? What does it get hurt? What is it doing to me? When do I want to exert something to bump up and maybe not take the damage that I would have taken otherwise? All those kind of things take the crunchy mechanics of damage and put a lot more player influence on it. And that's one of the things I love about this system, but also other Traveller influenced projects. I think I just want to know, how much lore can we expect? Because I feel like I was constantly asking those questions. And when you're talking about a zine, I think that's the thing. And some of that's just I was leafing through Morkborg earlier. Morkborg gives you tons and tons of stuff that's in the world without telling you a whole lot about it, right? Like you get tons and tons of things that are in the world of Morkborg's setting or ethos, but it doesn't tell you anything about necessarily where you're going. That's up to the GM to figure out as they're playing. Is that kind of what we can expect from this, or are you thinking a little bit more established lore as you go?
I am a little bit, I think, sort of on the Morkborg side. There's certainly like, what I like to have is sort of that city guide feel, where you as a GM are never sitting there going like, I don't know, I'm stuck coming up with a name of a bar and who's going to work there. And I want those things to sort of be at your disposal for you. But I want other things to be a little more like Troika. I think Troika does a really good job of sort of embedding all the lore of Troika into character creation. And if something doesn't come up into character creation, it doesn't need to exist. It might exist because you as a GM want it there. But if you're running Troika and nobody gets, for instance, nobody creates an Ardent Giant of Troika, which is one of your character options in Troika, or an Ardent Giant of Korda, which is, a giant from the land of Korda. The land of Korda doesn't need to exist in your sort of Troika game if nobody's from there.
Right.
Now you might, as a GM, grab the name Korda and run with it as a place that you take players anyway, but there's no set rule that this has to happen. So if nobody goes to work for the Senate, the Senate's there. I've tossed out a few names of senators in case you ever need to grab onto them. But like, there's no reason that if nobody's gone to work for the Senate that anybody needs to talk about the Senate ever again.
Right.
There's a few problems that come up, but if nobody is, I think one of the things that comes up in character creation a lot is like there's you're being blackmailed by the secret police, and that's kind of a problem that you can start character creation with. But if that's not a thing that's happening with anybody, like the secret police don't need to be a dominant opponent in your game.
Yeah.
Or a dominant nemesis or rival problem issue source in your source of issues in your game. So I want the lore to be a toolbox for GMs and not like a something that's hanging over the GM's head.
Right. Not like a player is going to flip into the book and be like, nope, that's not who runs this spot. You were wrong. I've got the world book here. Right. Yeah, because I loved it. I mean, it's a very open process. Hey, pick a classic fantasy race. Hey, like pick, a couple of these things, like, and that's what your race is. Like if you want a background skill that matters to that, that's great. You can take that at character creation, or you can take a couple of skills, or you can do this. I love the point where you had choices and then you just kind of open things up. Like I said, I'll have more of my thoughts coming up later. Again, tell people one more time, and I'll drop it on this video when it goes up on YouTube later. It's already in the chat here on the show. But where are they going to be able to find this, and when are they going to be able to find it?
Chronicles of the Spacejammer is on Kickstarter preview page now, where you can follow and get a launch email on February 9th. It's going to go live, and it's going to be a 2-week campaign. It will be on Kickstarter, and I will. You have the link, so
yep.
Me reading the link aloud would be silly. But
it's down below.
Live on Kickstarter. It is Volume 2. Enoch's Wake is the one we're funding. This is the one that sort of turns it into a standalone game.
Awesome. Well, I am excited to back it. I'm super looking forward to it. I want to continue to see this develop, and it sounds like this is maybe going to become kind of a flagship for Artwork Studios. Is that what we're hearing? We're going to see maybe more of this come out in the future?
Yeah. Both this and Barrowkeep are things I want to keep releasing content for.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of stuff I want to kind of explore in Barrowkeep. There were some settings, some spaces that were hinted at that I think are going to get kind of their own little booklets and some of their own sort of playbooks and stuff like that to kind of go there. And then this will be, I think, an easy thing to kind of keep unfolding for a bit. So
awesome. I'm excited to hear about it. So if you want to check out Richard's other work, that his itch account is right down below. You can hit him at Aru. Do what? Do what? Richard?
That wasn't me. Sorry.
Oh, I thought I heard somebody say something. I'm sorry.
No,
yeah.
sorry.
Richard's itch account is down. Link to his itch account is down below. Check out his work there. You can follow him on Twitter at rru. That's also in the chat, and we'll make sure we link it on the video also too. Or check out his Kickstarter campaign launching next week. Again, I'm at Tony Vicinda. We are at +1EXP. But let's hear from everybody else before we wave ridiculously at the screen and say goodbye to everybody. Cal, where can people find you online again?
Yeah, anywhere online. I'm just at Cowshea, COWSHEA. Mostly make dumb jokes and talk about movies, but also RPG stuff.
There we go. And Jahan, where can people find you at?
Yeah, I'm Jahan on Twitch, at RockFact on Twitter, and I am a part of the TTRPG team Fresh Out the Box with my co-host Casualty CDG. So make sure to check us out if you like RPGs and board games.
Awesome. Excited to have you join us for the first time. Thanks for being here. We're going to stick around and just chat amongst us right after we're done. But for everybody else, just remember, if you haven't yet, go back a couple Kickstarter projects for $1 over the course of the next month. Even if you don't do it every day, doing it a couple times as you see projects you come up that you love, it's absolutely helpful. Share projects online and then find maybe a couple to fall in love with, maybe like this game that you want to check out in more detail. That's 100% why we do what we do. Again, until next time, we've really enjoyed having you here with us, and we've been playing Chronicles of the Spacejammer, Enoch's Wake, which is going to be live next week. We're a brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. You can check out everything we do at +1exp.com, and we will see you guys soon. Talk to you later.